Rio is getting ready for fun now and games later. The Olympics are coming to one of the world's most dangerous cities.
I'm making friends with a whole bunch of people who are not friends with each other.
Can Rio clean up its act in time to play the perfect host?
It could be crazy to go back there. But there's too many guns. If you were to see me out on the street shooting in Rio, you would never say, oh, there's a professional photographer, because I've usually got just a simple point-and-shoot camera. I grew up with my heroes in photography being Henri Cartier-Bresson and Robert Frank, and both of these European photographers were minimalist. Henri Cartier-Bresson said, just keep it real simple and make it all about the subject. And so I believed that when I was 13 years old, and I believe it now.
For National Geographic magazine, David Allen Harvey keeps returning to the same subject, Latin America. For this assignment, he's come to Rio de Janeiro, a beautiful and vibrant city, but one with a bad reputation. In 2016, the Summer Olympics are coming to Rio, with the rest of the world right behind.
And Rio is not ready for the world to arrive. So this is one of the things that I'm interested in finding out. And how are they going to clean it up in 5 years to make it safe for people to walk the streets? Because Rio can be dangerous. It's beautiful, it's dramatic, it's hot, literally, in every way, sexy, colorful, all of these things, but it can, in fact, be dangerous.
Because in Rio, money lives next door to guns.
Rio has got to be one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And the most beautiful places are, in fact, the favelas, the people who are not so well off, who've moved up onto the hillsides and actually have the best views of any place in Rio. And they literally spill down into the city. So you've got these poor neighborhoods and drug dealer neighborhoods right there on top of Ipanema Beach, for example. So it's not like wealthy side of town, poor side of town. They're all mixed up.
Just like Brazil itself, a puree of Europe, Africa, and America that produced the girl from Ipanema.
I would like for people to feel Rio. I want them to sense the texture, the smells. I want them to hear the music. Feel what it's like to be there. And I'm kind of their way of doing that, perhaps. The one culture that just jumps out as being, wow, what a bunch of nice people, is Brazil. They're the nicest bunch of people on the planet. The beauty of the work for me is just a general interest in people and the fact that I learn something every day, things that I didn't plan on learning. I don't have any preconceived ideas visually before I go out on any given day. What I do is on the back of an old envelope or a napkin, I'll be having breakfast and I'll write down keywords. Those keywords go into my hard drive right here, along with all the history, along with all the conversations that I have with all the people, and then that manifests itself somehow in the photograph. It's magic. One of the great joys of being a photographer is when I get in such a state of mind that I call it being in the zone, and it's so exhilarating because you're in a situation where you're not really being noticed by who's around you. They've already accepted your presence. I was actually able to just go in and work. In other words, I was just in it. Now this zone maybe lasts for a minute, but it's that wonderful time when you can just be a photographer. It's almost a dangerous zone because you're so focused on what's happening right in front of you. You have to be in that zone. If I'm not in the zone, my pictures are terrible. That was a great scene that I just photographed. You see Vidigal in the background, and his father just came up with his baby. Things like that are just so symbolic.
Symbolism looms over Rio.
You've seen all those postcard pictures of Ipanema Beach with that big mountain in the background, and right on the side of that hill is Vidigal.
Vidigal is one of hundreds of Rio slums called favelas. Many ruled by drug lords with private armies.
I would say that, 98% of the people who live in the favelas just want a normal, happy life. And favelas in and of themselves are an important cultural part of Rio. And I think the people who are trying to change the favelas are mostly trying to bring out that positive side. The ballet schools, the art classes, kids who want to grow up and go to college and become responsible citizens.
These kids live in the drug lord kingdoms of the favelas, but they're hooked on music. They're just one platoon in a growing legion of young musicians. It's more than music. It's a movement to reform the favelas from within. The man who inspires them is an ex-taxi driver turned favela activist.
I'm David. Nice to see you.
He's so famous, he's known simply as Junior.
He has the ability to cross the lines. Because of his background from the favela, he knows the drug dealers, he knows the cops, he knows the governor, he knows everybody. He's managed to get himself in a really unique situation, I think.
Junior is David's passport into a world that's off limits, if David decides to go.
There is a risk going into the favela. You don't just go there and start taking pictures.
Just passing by a favela can be dangerous. It takes an army to defend Rio from the drug lords. The road to the airport runs between two favelas. Gold shipments are convoyed by the Shawkey, elite military police.
Sometimes they've got their guns down, but when they go past the favela, they've got their guns up. I mean, they're ready to shoot back. After they saw the way I was really going to work, I think they sort of feared for me because I was hanging off the back of the truck. They were afraid that I was going to fall out or something like that.
Well, there's kind of a risk to let you guys there and let you're in the back side of the van.
It is a little risky.
It's kind of risky for you.
Yeah. After one run, they didn't want to do another one. They could see I was going to push it a little bit too far.
Pushing it too far is what Rio does, especially during Carnival, when Rio corners the market on sequins, feathers, and fun.
A parade at Ipanema Beach of mostly transvestites. Rio is a very popular place for people who are flamboyant, shall we say. So this is the really flamboyant part of Carnival, this part. Always takes forever to change a card, and when I'm changing a card, I don't even want to look back and see what pictures I'm missing. I don't even want to know.
Come on, baby.
Oh, that was great. The juxtaposition between the woman and the police was really cool. What I do in a case like this when the crowd is just packed and I know I can't move in it, I'm going to put myself right in the middle of the road with a wide lens.
Hi, Judge Casaport. Hi.
How are you doing? Nice to see you. Have a nice carnival, please. I know, please.
This parade is a stroll in the park, next to the one that begins tonight. The heart of Carnival, the Samba Drome, a 700-meter stage for one of the biggest shows on earth.
Planning, getting permission, and figuring out the strategy for how you're going to do something is always, one of the main things that you have to do for this kind of work. And I never enjoy it. The judges are up here, the VIPs are up here. There's more VIPs over here, a lot of VIPs in this thing. We need to know all of this stuff right now, what we're going to be able to do. Because we can't have any surprises on the day of.
Carnival lasts 4 days, an eye blink compared to the preparations. Dozens of floats will process through the Samba Drome, half of them built in this sprawling compound. Every Carnival, a new flotilla of floats, costing millions of dollars.
Whoever is in charge of that particular thing has been working on it night and day the whole year, because this thing is an elaborate presentation. And each float has a different theme. Some of the themes I couldn't figure out, quite frankly.
Outside the Samba Drome gather the stars of Carnival, the Samba schools, neighborhood social clubs, thousands of members strong, a song and dance legion. What the tango is to Argentina, samba is to Brazil. A choreography of culture.
I put in a long day of about 14, 16, maybe 20 hours a day of just out there in the street, living with the people and trying to absorb as much as I can about the culture. Because this involves 4 cultures: Spain, Portugal, West Africa, and the indigenous population of the Americas. I mean, you mix Africa with Spain, for example, with the indigenous in the Americas, with Catholicism, with the sun god and the rain god, the music, the spirituality, all of it.
Mix it all up, and here's what you get. These aren't the Samba schools. It's one Samba school. A school has more than an hour to sashay down the runway, impress the judges, and wow the crowd.
I had an unusual situation that I was able to get right down and be a part of it. Most of the press are off to the sides, and we managed to finagle a really good pass so that we could be actually down on the floor. The hard thing for me is going to be taking the permission that I have and, shall we say, extending that permission. Yeah, but I know myself. I'm always going to want to push it just a little bit. Doing that sort of thing is definitely a part of my job anyway, to get where you're not supposed to be. Because we always like to be where you cannot be. We were told, well, you won't be able to do this and you won't be able to do that. And of course, those were the very things that we did quite a few times. And at some point, I saw a little space between two of the parading groups. I thought, I'm going for it, and I just jumped out there in the middle, expecting to be pulled off, but I wasn't. I mean, they let me stay there.
Wow.
Something else amazing happens here. In an extravaganza watched by the world's glitterati, some performers come from Rio's poorest neighborhoods.
A lot of the best bands that are in Carnival are coming out of the favelas.
They rehearse throughout the year for one night of pride. But how does life look off stage?
I think if you're going to do a story on Rio, you've got to go into the favelas. I mean, they're an important part of Rio. Today's the day that we're going into the favela with Junior, and we don't know what's in store for us. Life is risky. This is probably a little more risky than the everyday life experience, but I'm going. Is when you go into the favela, you've gone into another place. Once you're in the favela, you can't call 911 and ask for police protection or come and get me from anybody. Nobody's coming in there to get you. So you've kind of like gone into another country.
This favela is so off limits, even Brazilian TV rarely films here.
Well, there's just, you can see bullet holes in various walls around here, all up and down. Kind of bullet holes in most of the walls here. This is pretty much a scene of some heavy combat sometimes, I think. You see it everywhere. I mean, they told me, don't photograph the guys with the guns. We didn't see that many guys with guns anyway. And they had scouts out ahead of me, getting the guys with guns off the rooftops. About every 20 yards, we get cleared by these guys here ahead. They clear the way for us, make sure that there's nobody out there that shouldn't be seen by us with our cameras. So, we're okay rolling here.
In Rio, nearly 1 person in 3 lives in a favela.
It's okay. Yeah, that's good. Wait a minute. One advantage of digital is I am able to show people their pictures on the back of the camera, and they can see what I've photographed.
People in the favelas have one thing the rich lack: the best views.
Pretty interesting up here. You can really see the business district of Rio. You can see the whole bay. I mean, you'd never know you were even in the same city. I mean, it's 2 different worlds, or it's 5 different worlds, or something. It's just to be sitting on the beach in Ipanema is one thing, and to be in one of these favelas is something completely different. And you could feel that it was a place where you really couldn't work. We were hoping that we were actually going to meet these drug lords, and it just didn't happen.
You can go, man. You can go and shoot if you want.
Well, he says they don't want to be photographed. He's already talked to them. And nobody wanted to have their picture taken. Because as soon as Carnival was over, the buzz around town is that the military police are going to invade at any moment some of these uncontrolled favelas, lock them down, drive out the drug dealers, and secure the neighborhood. It was too uptight. Let's go somewhere.
The Samba Drome again. But this night, Harvey won't go inside.
You know, what I want to do tonight is to work the edges of Carnival. That's when you get the real moments. So if you go outside of the Sambodrome, suddenly you're supposedly in a kind of a dangerous neighborhood, and you're certainly with people who cannot afford to go inside the Sambodrome. Watching the Carnival, which is only 50 yards away, on their televisions and tending bar and just hanging out. One way or another, people usually know I'm taking pictures. I'm a big guy, I've got a camera. I usually ask permission either literally or by eye contact or by body language or something. Take the picture first, show them the picture later. They always like that. I mean, one of the first things I was told was, don't take a picture of the police. So what happened is that we've got some cops who really want to have their pictures taken. It's all like one big costume ball, right? I put my camera down. You probably look and you think, okay, he's done. I'm just doing that to get them kind of relaxed. I might pick it up really quick and take a picture. Put the camera down. I'm absolutely not done, but I'm getting ready to take the real picture. Then I was able to get a really interesting image of this older woman with her dress all spread out, and in the background were these military police. It's such a bizarre picture. Wow, it's like this lady sitting there in the middle of the road with these cops going in. That picture was worth my whole night out here. Just that one. You could never invent a moment like that.
Bora, bora, bora! Bora!
We didn't see any bad behavior during Carnival. We really didn't. I mean, that was amazing. I've been to carnivals before, which tend to get a little bit out of hand. And because of the Olympics coming, I think they must have put on 10 times as much security as they normally have for Carnival. Rio is probably a safer city than it was a few years ago. Let's assume that the police are able to secure the neighborhoods and make outsiders feel comfortable coming to Rio in the first place. Then the big question, of course, is what happens when the Olympics are over? Does it just go back to the way that it was?
Can Rio reinvent itself? It already does, once a year.